When someone directs hatred toward you, the first instinct of the untrained mind is to believe that something is wrong with you. But hatred, if you observe it carefully, is never about you. It is about the other. Hatred is born from a lack of balance, from jealousy, from fear, from misunderstanding. A tree that bears fruit will always attract stones, not because the fruit has done wrong, but because its existence exposes hunger in others. In the same way, when people hate, their emotions are not a reflection of your being, but of their own inner unrest. To mistake their projection as your identity is like believing the mirror shows you as broken simply because the glass is cracked. You must see beyond appearances. Their hatred is their burden. Your task is only to remain centered, unshaken, and aware. Imagine a clear lake, calm and still. Now a person throws mud into it. The water does not become permanently dirty. It simply holds the mud until time and stillness settle it down. Hatred works the same way. When people hate, they are throwing mud into the space around you. If you accept it, you stir the waters of your heart and lose clarity. But if you remain like the calm lake, you see their mud for what it is, something external, temporary, and not yours to keep. Hatred exposes their lack of peace, not your lack of worth. The moment you understand this, you no longer carry unnecessary burdens. Instead of defending yourself or fighting back, you learn to watch hatred pass like clouds across the sky. The clouds do not belong to the sky, they only travel across it. Many people spend their lives running from hatred, fearing it as if it were proof of failure. But hatred is inevitable for anyone who chooses to rise, to stand tall, or to live with authenticity. If you do nothing, you may avoid hatred, but you also avoid growth. Hatred from others often comes because your light reveals their shadows. When you grow, when you achieve, when you remain authentic, you show them what they are not ready to face within themselves. Their hatred is a confession, though they will never admit it aloud. It confesses envy, fear, or insecurity. If you understand this, you stop taking hatred personally, you stop questioning your path. Instead, you recognize that their reaction says more about their condition than about your value. You become free the moment you stop seeing yourself through the eyes of their bitterness. Think of a candle placed in the dark. The candle has no intention to hurt anyone, it simply shines. Yet for some, its light feels uncomfortable because it forces them to see what they would rather keep hidden. Hatred is often the cry of the unprepared mind when faced with truth, light, or beauty. The candle does not dim itself to avoid discomfort. In the same way, you must not shrink to avoid being hated. Hatred reveals that your presence disturbs the comfort of someone who refuses growth. It reveals their fragility, not your flaw. Once you learn this, hatred loses its sting. You do not try to change who you are for approval. You stand firm, knowing that their hostility is only evidence of their inner storm, not of your unworthiness. Hatred is their confession, not your condemnation. In the Shaolin tradition, we are taught that true warriors are not those who fight against enemies, but those who master themselves. When people hate you, the battle is not outside, the battle is within. If you allow their hatred to ignite anger inside you, then you have lost. If you let their words sink into your spirit and poison your peace, then you have surrendered your freedom. But if you can see clearly, this hatred reveals them, not me, then you win without even fighting. You win because you remain untouched, because your inner fortress remains intact. Their hatred becomes like arrows shot into the sky. They rise with noise, but eventually fall harmlessly to the ground. Victory is not in silencing the haters, it is in refusing to let their poison live in you. The ego, however, does not like this teaching. The ego wants to defend, to fight back, to prove itself right. But this is where discipline comes in. Hatred tempts the ego to rise, but wisdom instructs the spirit to stay still. If someone hates you and you fight back, you are playing their game, and in playing you lose your peace. But if you recognize that hatred is a mirror showing them, not you, then you rise above the game. You begin to see hatred as a teacher. It trains your patience. It trains your ability to stay centered. It trains your detachment. Hatred then becomes a gift because it strengthens you while exposing the weakness of those who carry it. Only the disciplined mind can accept such a paradox. To be thankful for hatred because it reveals truth and builds strength. Consider a river. If you throw stones into it, does the river stop flowing? No. It continues its journey, sometimes even using those stones to create new paths. Hatred is like those stones. It may interrupt your flow for a moment, but it cannot stop you unless you allow it. Instead of carrying hatred with you, you let it settle in the riverbed, where it becomes part of the foundation that supports your flow. The river does not argue with the stone, it simply flows around it. In this way, hatred becomes a part of your growth. It reveals to you that your path is strong enough to carry more than peace. It can carry resistance too. To flow like the river is to see hatred not as an enemy, but as an inevitable presence that proves the strength of your current. There is a story told of a monk who was insulted by a passerby. The man cursed him, shouted, and spat at him. The monk remained silent. Later, his students asked why he had not defended himself. The monk replied, "If someone brings a gift and you refuse it, to whom does the gift belong?" The answer was clear: the gift returns to the giver. Hatred is the same. If you do not accept it, it remains with the one who carries it. This simple truth changes everything. Why take into your heart what belongs to another? Why poison your spirit with what was never yours? When people hate, they are offering you their burden. If you refuse to carry it, they are left holding it themselves. Hatred always reveals the weight they carry, not the value you lack. When you live with this understanding, you gain an inner freedom that cannot be touched. You stop fearing hatred. You stop bending to please those who will never be satisfied. Instead, you walk with clarity, with purpose, and with peace. Hatred becomes background noise, like dogs barking at the moon. The moon does not argue. It does not descend to silence the noise. It continues to shine, and eventually the barking stops, but the moon still glows. In the same way, your path does not depend on their approval or their rejection. Hatred will come, but it will also pass. What remains is your discipline, your inner strength, and your refusal to let their shadows define your light. This is freedom. This is mastery. So remember this truth: when others hate you, they are showing you their inner state, not describing your essence. Do not mistake their wound for your weakness. Do not let their storm enter your sky. Hatred reveals the other, not you. Once you live with this awareness, life changes. You no longer waste time trying to convince people to love you. You no longer bend under the weight of their opinions. You walk free because you know who you are cannot be touched by their hatred. What they reveal is their burden, not your truth. And when you carry yourself with such clarity, hatred no longer feels like an enemy. It feels like a reminder of how far you have come and how deeply you are rooted in peace. That is the way of the disciplined mind. In life, much of what troubles us is not the reality itself, but the shadow of reality. A shadow looks large, frightening, and distorted, but it has no substance. Hatred, gossip, criticism, envy, these are shadows. They appear powerful, but only when you give them attention do they gain strength. To waste your energy fighting shadows is like a warrior swinging his sword at smoke. You exhaust yourself, but nothing changes. Instead, if you focus your energy on what is real, on what you can cultivate within, the shadows disappear on their own. The tree does not chase its shadow to change it, it grows, and the shadow changes naturally. So too must you remember. When hatred follows you, it is only a shadow. Do not waste your life's energy trying to fight illusions. Place your energy into your growth, and the shadows will fade. The human mind often magnifies shadows. A single word of criticism may feel heavier than 100 words of praise. Why? Because the mind is attracted to negativity, like fire draws moths. Yet when you feed negativity with your energy, you give it life. Shadows grow darker only when light is weak. Your awareness, your discipline is the light. If you focus your energy on fears, insults, and imagined enemies, you weaken yourself. You become entangled in shadows that were never real threats to begin with. To live wisely is to redirect your energy toward what strengthens you. Practice patience and clarity. The shadow cannot hurt you unless you chase it. In martial arts, one of the first lessons is not to be distracted by illusions of movement, but to focus on the center. In life too, do not be distracted by shadows. Stay centered in truth. Think of a traveler walking a path at night. The moon casts long shadows, and every bush looks like a beast. If the traveler panics and runs at every shadow, he wastes his strength, exhausts his spirit, and loses his way. But if he keeps walking steadily, he soon discovers that the shadows are nothing more than shapes without power. Hatred from others is the same. Their whispers, their judgments, their negativity, they may seem threatening. But when you waste energy reacting, you weaken yourself and strengthen their illusion. The wise traveler does not stop to fight with shadows. He continues toward the destination. The same applies to your life, your purpose, your clarity. Your path is more important than proving shadows wrong. Let them appear, let them move, but do not let them stop your steps. This is how energy is preserved for what matters. Energy is the most precious resource a human being has. Unlike wealth or possessions, energy cannot be borrowed or bought. Once spent, it cannot return. If you waste your energy on shadows, on hatred, gossip, arguments, you rob yourself of the strength needed for growth, discipline, and creation. To fight shadows is to choose weakness. Every moment you spend defending yourself against meaningless opinions is a moment stolen from your practice. The masters of the Shaolin Temple understand this deeply. Energy must be guarded like a treasure. It must not be given away freely to shadows that feed on attention. Instead, energy must be directed toward cultivation, toward training the body, sharpening the mind, and purifying the spirit. When you value your energy, you stop scattering it on illusions. You stop throwing it away on battles that were never real. This is the way of inner strength. In meditation, shadows of thought constantly appear. The untrained mind chases them, argues with them, fears them. But the trained mind simply watches them pass. Hatred from others is like these thoughts, shadows in the field of awareness. If you fight them, they multiply. If you fear them, they grow larger. But if you sit still and let them drift by, they dissolve into nothingness. This is why wasting energy on shadows is dangerous. It traps you in a cycle of reaction. The more you react, the more shadows you create. Soon you are living not in reality, but in a world of imagined threats. To conserve energy is to break the cycle. It is to recognize that shadows have no true existence. They live only in your reaction. When you stop feeding them, they vanish, leaving behind only the clarity of the present moment. Look at the sun. It shines without concern for the shadows it casts. If the sun stopped shining to chase shadows, the whole world would fall into darkness. In the same way, your duty is to shine, not to argue with every shadow that appears. Hatred and negativity are inevitable. They are the shadows of your light. But when you remain focused on shining, the shadows cannot harm you. Only when you stop shining to confront them do you lose your power. Do not waste energy proving yourself to those who hate. Do not waste time explaining yourself to those who will not listen. Your light is proof enough. Let the shadows stretch, let them move, but never let them distract you from your task. This is the discipline of energy, to shine regardless of the darkness that gathers around you. Every human being has only so much energy each day. If you spend it wisely, you grow. If you waste it on shadows, you stagnate. Hatred from others is like wind. It blows, makes noise, but cannot stop the mountain. Yet if the mountain tries to chase the wind, it crumbles. You must be like the mountain, steady, rooted, immovable. When people speak against you, remember that words are air. To waste energy fighting air is foolish. Instead, put your energy into building strength, into walking your path, into mastering yourself. Those who hate expect you to waste energy reacting. They expect you to fall into their game. When you remain calm and focused, you defeat them without conflict. They become like wind trying to move a mountain, loud but powerless. This is the wisdom of not wasting energy. You preserve your strength by refusing to fight the wind. There is a teaching in martial arts: the opponent who cannot provoke you has already lost. Why? Because provocation is designed to make you waste energy, to draw you into a fight on their terms. Hatred works the same way. If you respond to every insult, every whisper, every look of disapproval, you become weak. You drain your strength on shadows. But if you remain unmoved, calm as still water, the one who hates grows frustrated. They realize their efforts are useless. Their shadow has no power. You win not by striking back, but by refusing to play. The energy you save becomes fuel for mastery, for growth, for clarity. In this way, shadows become teachers. They remind you of the discipline needed to protect your energy. Each moment you resist wasting it, you become stronger than before. This is the way of resilience. Consider this: if you carry a torch through the night, shadows will always follow you. If you stop every few steps to argue with your shadow, you will never reach your destination. But if you keep walking, the torch will eventually lead you into the sunrise, where shadows disappear naturally. Hatred is like those shadows. It follows anyone who carries light. But your goal is not to fight the shadows, it is to reach the sunrise. Wasting energy on hatred keeps you in the darkness longer. But conserving energy for your path leads you forward, toward the light where no shadow can exist. This is why the wise do not fight shadows, they walk past them. They know that energy is sacred, and to waste it on illusions is to abandon the journey. Your path is too important to stop for shadows. So, let this be your discipline: do not waste energy on shadows. Hatred, gossip, criticism. These are passing illusions, powerless unless you give them strength. Your energy is your treasure, your weapon, your foundation. Guard it. Direct it toward growth, practice, and clarity. Like the tree that grows without chasing its shadow, like the sun that shines without fear of darkness, you too must remain focused on your path. Shadows will come, but they will also go. What matters is not the noise outside, but the strength you preserve within. Do not scatter your energy on illusions. Use it to build yourself, to walk steadily, to shine brighter. In this way, shadows become nothing more than reminders of your light. And in refusing to waste your energy on them, you become unshakable, disciplined, and free. True strength is not measured by how loudly you speak, how powerful you appear, or how many battles you win. True strength is the quietness within, the inner peace that no storm can disturb. When hatred comes from others, they seek to shake your balance. They hope their words, their actions, their negativity will enter your mind and unsettle your heart. But if you cultivate peace within, their efforts are in vain. It is like trying to disturb the depth of the ocean with a single stone. The surface may ripple, but the depths remain untouched. Inner peace is untouchable because it does not depend on circumstances. It is born from discipline, awareness, and self-mastery. The world can shout, but if the mind is still, no noise can reach it. The greatest power you can develop is this: to remain calm in the presence of hatred. The reason many suffer is because they place their peace in the hands of others. They say, "I will be calm if others are kind to me. I will be happy if others approve of me." This is a fragile way to live, for it makes your peace dependent on forces you cannot control. When hatred appears, your peace vanishes, not because it was destroyed, but because it was never yours to begin with. It was borrowed from outside. To understand that inner peace is untouchable is to reclaim ownership of it. Your peace comes from your breath, your discipline, your clarity. It is not a gift from others, nor can it be stolen by them. When you anchor peace inside, the storms outside lose their power. Hatred cannot reach you because you no longer place your well-being in the shifting moods of the world. Imagine a monk sitting in meditation on a mountain. Around him, winds blow, storms gather, trees bend and break, but the monk remains still, breathing steadily. His peace is not disturbed because it does not come from the weather outside, but from the stability inside. Hatred in the world is like those storms. It is loud, destructive, and unpredictable. If your peace depends on silence outside, you will always be shaken. But if your peace is rooted within, storms cannot touch it. Hatred may circle you, but it cannot enter you. This is why inner peace is the highest form of strength. Weapons cannot cut it. Words cannot break it. Hatred cannot reach it. When you realize this, you stop living in fear of rejection or anger. You walk with calmness, not because the world is kind, but because your spirit is disciplined. Many people confuse peace with avoidance. They think that to protect their peace, they must escape hatred, avoid conflict, or silence critics. But this is not true peace. True peace is the ability to remain calm even in the presence of noise. Avoidance creates fragile peace, but discipline creates unshakable peace. If you hide from hatred, you only strengthen your fear of it. But if you face it with stillness, you prove to yourself that your peace is untouchable. This is why inner cultivation is essential. Through meditation, through awareness, through training, you build the strength to remain unmoved. Hatred then becomes a test, a way to measure your mastery. Every insult becomes a chance to demonstrate your calmness. Every rejection becomes a lesson in detachment. This is the beauty of discipline. It transforms even hatred into a path toward deeper peace. The ego is the greatest enemy of peace. The ego reacts to every insult, defends itself against every attack, and demands recognition at every moment. When others hate you, it is the ego that rises, eager to prove them wrong. But peace is found not in proving, but in letting go. Inner peace is untouchable because it is beyond the ego. It does not care about opinions, judgments, or labels. It is rooted in being, not in reputation. The one who cultivates inner peace learns to silence the ego's voice. When hatred comes, the ego wants to fight, but the spirit says, "Let it pass." And it passes. Hatred cannot touch the one who does not feed it with ego. In this way, the disciplined mind learns to rest in stillness. To let go of ego is to discover the untouchable nature of inner peace. Inner peace is not weakness. Many believe that staying calm in the face of hatred is passive, that silence means surrender. But silence is not surrender, it is mastery. To react to hatred is easy, but to remain unmoved requires great strength. The warrior who strikes at every provocation wastes his energy, but the warrior who chooses when to act demonstrates power. Inner peace is the same. It is not the absence of strength. It is the highest form of it. To be untouchable is not to avoid life, but to stand in the middle of it without being shaken. Hatred tests your resilience. Each time you remain calm, you train your mind to stay untouchable. Slowly, hatred loses its grip because it finds no reaction in you. This is how peace becomes armor. It protects you, not by fighting, but by remaining beyond reach. Consider a flame inside a lantern. The wind outside may blow fiercely, but the glass protects the flame. Your inner peace is that flame, and discipline is the lantern that guards it. Without discipline, the flame flickers at every breeze of opinion. But with discipline, it shines steadily, untouched by the storm. This is why cultivating peace is a daily practice. It cannot be borrowed in moments of crisis. It must be trained long before hatred appears. Through breath, through silence, through awareness, you strengthen the lantern. Hatred then becomes powerless because the flame inside remains steady. When others shout, you breathe. When others hate, you remain calm. The world may rage outside, but your light shines within. And this light is untouchable because it is not dependent on the world. It is protected by your discipline. This is true inner freedom. When you know that inner peace is untouchable, you stop chasing approval. You no longer bend to please those who will hate regardless of what you do. You realize their hatred cannot take away your calmness, so why waste time defending yourself? This understanding frees you. It gives you back the energy that was once wasted on shadows. You can then direct that energy toward growth, practice, and clarity. Hatred loses its power because it cannot reach what is sacred inside you. Others may throw stones, but you carry stillness. Others may try to disturb you, but you remain centered. This is not arrogance, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that peace is an inner treasure, not an external gift. And once you recognize this, you no longer fear hatred. You see it, you acknowledge it, and you let it pass without entering your spirit. Inner peace is untouchable because it is rooted in truth. Hatred is temporary, built on illusions of envy, fear, or misunderstanding. But peace rooted in awareness is timeless. It does not shift with the seasons of opinion. It remains like the mountain that stands even as clouds gather and storms pass. To live with this peace is to live with freedom. You are no longer enslaved by the moods of others. You no longer carry their shadows within you. Instead, you carry clarity, silence, and balance. Hatred becomes like noise in the distance. It exists, but it does not disturb your song. This is why peace is the greatest wealth. It cannot be stolen, bought, or broken. It is yours alone as long as you guard it with discipline. To realize this is to discover strength that nothing outside can ever touch. So, when hatred comes, do not fight it. Do not fear it. Simply remember, inner peace is untouchable. It is the fortress no arrow can pierce, the ocean no stone can disturb, the flame no wind can extinguish. Hatred may appear strong, but it has no power over the one who is rooted in stillness. Your task is not to control others, but to master yourself. Through awareness, discipline, and practice, you build a peace that no one can take away. Then, even in the loudest storms, you remain calm. Even in the face of rejection, you remain centered. Hatred becomes powerless because it cannot enter your heart. And in this state, you are free, not because the world has changed, but because you have. This is the highest strength. This is the true victory. Inner peace is untouchable, and once you discover this, so are you. Most people live as prisoners of reaction. Someone insults them, and they burn with anger. Someone ignores them, and they drown in sadness. Someone hates them, and they feel the need to fight back. In this way, their freedom is not their own. It belongs to others. True freedom begins when you no longer react to every shadow thrown at you. Non-reaction is not weakness, it is liberation. It means your mind is no longer a puppet controlled by the strings of others' behavior. To practice non-reaction is to take back your power. When you choose silence instead of anger, stillness instead of conflict, you show that your spirit is free. Hatred, gossip, and negativity lose their chains on you because they cannot provoke you into battle. This is freedom's, the ability to walk your path without being dragged into every fight created by others. Non-reaction does not mean indifference, it means clarity. When you do not react, you give yourself space to see clearly. The one who reacts immediately is blinded by emotion. The one who pauses gains vision. Hatred thrives on reaction. It seeks to pull you into its circle, to make you dance to its rhythm. But when you remain still, hatred loses its fuel. Imagine a fire that burns only when fed. If you stop feeding it, the fire dies naturally. Hatred is the same. If you react, you give it strength. If you remain still, it burns itself out. Freedom through non-reaction is not escape. It is mastery. It is the decision to respond with awareness, not with impulse. It is the discipline to choose peace over chaos. When you master this, you are no longer a slave to the moods and actions of the world. The ego is always eager to react. It whispers, defend yourself. Prove them wrong. Do not let them disrespect you. But every time you obey the ego, you lose freedom. You become a prisoner of pride, chained by the need to win arguments and collect recognition. Non-reaction is the art of silencing the ego. It is saying, their words cannot touch my truth. Their hatred cannot reach my spirit. This silence confuses the ones who seek to provoke you, because they expect conflict. They expect you to fight back. When you don't, they lose control. In this way, non-reaction becomes the most powerful form of response. You do not fight with fists, but with stillness. You do not defeat them by striking harder, but by refusing to be drawn into their game. This is how you win without fighting, by mastering the art of non-reaction. Think of a mirror. If you smile into it, it smiles back. If you frown into it, it frowns. But if the mirror could choose silence, it would not reflect hatred back. It would remain clear, untouchable. This is the power of non-reaction. Most people reflect the emotions of others. If they receive anger, they give anger. If they receive hatred, they return hatred. But the one who has mastered himself does not mirror negativity. He remains like the clear mirror that refuses to distort itself. Freedom is born here, when your inner state is no longer dictated by external forces. When others try to provoke, and you remain clear, you reveal your strength. Their storm cannot cloud your clarity, because you have chosen non-reaction. This is not suppression, it is freedom. It is living as master of your own mind, instead of a mirror of the world's chaos. In the Shaolin path, we train to conserve energy. Every strike, every movement must be deliberate. Wasted energy weakens the warrior. Life is the same. Reaction is wasted energy. Every angry word, every defensive gesture, every outburst drains strength from your spirit. But when you practice non-reaction, you conserve energy. You redirect it toward what builds you: discipline, practice, growth. Freedom through non-reaction means you no longer scatter your energy on meaningless battles. Instead, you gather it within. This is why those who practice non-reaction appear calm, but their calmness is not emptiness. It is power stored, not wasted. They are like the bow that does not release every arrow, but waits for the right moment. Hatred cannot control such a person, because their energy is theirs alone. To live like this is to live free from provocation, free from waste, free from slavery to reaction. Non-reaction also protects you from regret. How many times has anger made you say words you wish to take back? How often has reaction led you into battles that left only emptiness? Reaction is fast, but wisdom is slow. The moment you practice non-reaction, you create a space between action and impulse. In this space, clarity arises. You see not only what was said or done, but the truth behind it. You realize that hatred is only the other's wound, not your responsibility. By refusing to react, you avoid carrying their burden. You walk past the trap instead of falling into it. Freedom through non-reaction is the ability to live without regrets born of haste. It is choosing stillness over fire, clarity over blindness. It is a way of living where each step is chosen, not forced. This is how discipline transforms into liberation. There is a story of a monk who was spat upon by a man in the marketplace. The monk simply bowed and walked away. Later, his students asked why he had not reacted. He replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse it, to whom does it belong?" The answer was clear: it returns to the giver. This is the essence of non-reaction. Hatred is a gift you do not need to accept. When you refuse it, it remains with the one who carries it. Freedom comes from this refusal. You are no longer burdened by what was never yours. Reaction is acceptance. You take their poison into your being. Non-reaction is refusal. You leave them holding their own bitterness. This is how you remain free, while they remain trapped. Non-reaction is not silence for weakness, it is silence for wisdom. It is freedom through refusal. Non-reaction does not mean that you never act. It means that when you act from choice, not from impulse. You are free to respond with kindness, with firmness, or with silence. But it is your choice, not the world's command. This is the difference between slavery and mastery. The reactive person is a puppet, pulled by every string of hatred. The non-reactive person is free, acting when necessary, and staying still when not. This is why freedom through non-reaction is so powerful. It gives you back control over yourself. Hatred no longer dictates your behavior. Negativity no longer determines your state. You decide, and in that decision you find strength. This freedom is greater than wealth, greater than victory, greater than fame. For when you master yourself, no one can master you. Hatred cannot enslave the one who refuses to react. Freedom through non-reaction also creates peace in the world around you. When two people fight, it is because both are reacting. If one refuses to react, the fight ends. Hatred is the same. It multiplies only when met with more hatred, but when met with silence, with stillness, it weakens. This is not only personal freedom, it is also service to the world. Each time you choose non-reaction, you stop the chain of conflict. You break the cycle of negativity. You plant stillness where there could have been chaos. This is why non-reaction is not passive. It is powerful. It transforms hatred into emptiness. It turns conflict into silence. It is the practice of ending battles before they begin. This is freedom not only for yourself, but for all who are touched by your calmness. Your stillness becomes a source of peace in a restless world. So remember, freedom is not found in controlling the world, but in mastering yourself. Hatred will come, rejection will come, provocation will come. You cannot change this, but you can change your response. In choosing non-reaction, you step out of the prison of impulse. You become untouchable, because no one can force you to fight their battles. This is freedom. The freedom to remain calm, to remain centered, to remain master of your own spirit. The world may rage, but you remain still. The world may hate, but you remain free. Non-reaction is not silence out of fear, it is silence out of strength. It is the discipline that transforms chaos into clarity. And when you live this way, you discover that the greatest victory is not over others, but over yourself. This is the path freedom through non-reaction.